1 Thessalonians 5:22. And someone go ahead and read that. 1 Thessalonians 5:22. It's written on the board.
Abstain from all appearance of evil.
That was King James. New King James. Abstain from every form of evil. I need to keep these with me. Now, this verse in the Bible is brought out of context quite often. Brother Philip Patton told me that it is brought out so often that people completely misunderstand it. Now, when you read it, what does it mean? What does it mean to you?
Avoid the appearance of evil.
Parents. That's good. All right, so I already wrote that down so everyone could see it, right? Everyone's got that? Well, okay, that's not something. All right. Abstain. Got to have that in bold letters for you. When we look at abstain, what do we think of? Refrain. If you're taking notes, I would encourage that you would write this down. Refrain. Or however it's spelled. I hope it's spelled that correctly. Refrain. What else? What does abstain mean? What does it mean? Another word for it. Stay away from. Stay away. Refrain. Stay away. What? Avoid. What else? What about leave it alone? Abstain. Leave it alone. Now, before we understand this chapter, or this verse, pardon me, we must understand the chapter and what it's talking about. This specific chapter is on false doctrine. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 is on false doctrine. And we'll go ahead and read a little bit of it. Beginning in verse 12. And we urge you, brethren, to recognize those who labor among you, and are over you in the Lord, and admonish you, to esteem them very highly in love for their work's sake. Be at peace among yourselves. Now we exhort you, brethren, warn those who are unruly, comfort the faint-hearted, uphold the weak, be patient with all. See that no one renders evil for evil to anyone, but always pursue what is good, both for yourself and for all. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing. In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. Do not quench the spirit. Do not despise prophecies. Test all things. Hold fast what is good. Abstain from every form of evil. So abstain means refrain, stay away from, avoid, and leave it alone. So we got that down. What does from mean? What is from? Away. Oh, what is away? No, I mean, it's a position. Abstain from. Avoid. Not close to. It is a position. It is not close to. probably have doctor handwriting. Right. Oh, what was that other one you said?
Not close to.
Not close to. Whatever. Not close to. Position. Abstain from. Stay away from that position. Avoid that position. Now, I didn't have enough room. A distance from. All right. So, abstain and from. Refrain, stay away, avoid, leave it alone. Position. From, position, not close to. And if you've written that down, I would go ahead and erase. No, don't erase y'all's, but I need to erase this for more room. In the beginning of the chapter, the Thessalonians had problems with false teachers coming in among them. Ravenous wolves. Abstain from. Abstain. Where did I get away from? Oh, abstain from every form of evil. What is every? What is another word for every? All. Absolute. Ooh, I like that one. I spelled that wrong, I think. I was? I have a problem with my spelling, and sometimes I can't understand it. Yes. Huh? Absolute. 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 Every, all, absolute. Entire. Each, whole, complete. All, everything, entire, whole, complete. But what is the opposite of that? Few? Not nothing? I wrote that down somewhere. Can't remember what it was. Oh, yeah. I wrote it down in my notebook, and I forgot to bring that. So I'll try to quote it as best I could. Not nothing can't get you anything. Nothing never could. I think I quoted it correctly. All right. Every form of evil. All, absolute, complete. What is form? Another word of form. Shape? Oops. Shape? Type? I know how to spell it. I was just trying to think of how that would be, what I was wanting it to be. Well, a little more exact. A bit more exact than that. Direct. More direct. State of existence. Thinking more like shape, as in a shape. Appearance. Appearance. Oh, whatever. Form. Oh, wait. Pattern. That's the word I was looking for. Pattern. Pattern. Shape. Pattern. Size. Weight. We'll do weight. We'll do weight. Oof. Seems like. Distinction. It is the distinction of. Abstain from every form, stay away from the position of all or whole, and what looks. All absolute, complete, shape, pattern, weight. What is of? Connector, okay. Relation, okay. Another word of that. Ownership. Of. Ownership. Oh, my handwriting is terrible. All right. Abstain from every form of. Yes, I did put evil down there. Good. Evil. Sin. Speak up. Ungodliness. A little more. Wickedness. Opposite of good, so bad. Now, some people, when they look at this verse, they take it too far, as I've already said. But in taking it too far, they will say, well, I can't go to such and such a place because they're selling dirty magazines and they're selling alcohol. Okay? If that's the case, then where are we going to shop? I guess we're going to have to plant a garden. Let's plant a garden. Put jalapeno peppers, habaneros, bell peppers, watermelons, corn, tomatoes. Okay. Well, what about water? Where are you going to get that? Pond? No. No, not pond. Well, if we take it that far, and let's say Walmart. We'll give an example of Walmart. Walmart sells magazines. I consider magazines busybody pages. Busybody pages, magazines, alcohol. Well, we're not going to go there because they sell alcohol, and that's wrong. We can't have alcohol. Well, yes, we can't have alcohol, but just because they sell it doesn't mean we're going to buy it. Abstain, stay away. So we're going to have to stay away from that alcohol. Refrain from taking it. We're not going to buy it. If we're godly Christians, we're not going to take alcohol. We're not going to buy those busybody magazines. Someone say something? Okay. So, it says abstain from every form of evil. Well, like I said, this was talking about the false doctrine. False doctrine was teaching at this time that you can do certain things that the Bible said you couldn't. Mr. Patton said, just because it's there doesn't mean we're going to have it. Just because we can see it doesn't mean we're consenting to it. That's like someone saying that, well, you take a picture of yourself, a selfie, and you're sitting down at a table at a restaurant, and someone is sitting beside you who has a can of beer, and you take that picture and a little bit of the beer can is in the photo. What do people think when they see that photo? Oh, he's drinking, he's sinning. We can't associate ourselves with him. Get the details first. Get the details before jumping to a conclusion. Just because you see it there does not mean you are associating yourself with it. You are not giving in. You are not promoting. But if we said that we're not going to go there because of those magazines or those alcoholic drinks, like I said, we're not going. That's too far. That's bringing it way too far. Because stores have our needs. We shop for necessity, for needs, for something that we would like. Yes, ma'am. Just because Walmart's selling it and the place beside it is not, who would you choose? Well, I would choose the one that's not selling alcohol because I'm giving my support to them. Now, if they take on liquor as well, we're still going to have to shop somewhere. But looks can be deceiving. Be very careful with what you do. Does anyone else have any input they wish to share? Well, that was another, no, it was in the same class. Yes, it was in the same class. Brother Patton said, if there is a congregation that has women with their heads, with hats on their heads, and another woman comes in with her husband, and they see that they have hats on their heads, and the entire congregation has hats on their heads, not the men, would that violate the women who are already attending there, their conscience? What? Those who are attending there and they see a visitor come in who's not wearing a hat. Would that violate their conscience? The culture, their culture, depending on their culture. It. It's a matter of opinion. Yes, it is. It is a matter of opinion. And I can't remember what verse that was about women being, 2 Corinthians. Speaking on the, how were those words put? 1 Corinthians 11. Thank you. Now I praise you, brethren, that you remember me in all things and keep the traditions just as I delivered them to you. But I want you to know that the head of every man is Christ, the head of woman is man, and the head of Christ is God. Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonors his head. But every woman who prays or prophesies with her head uncovered dishonors her head, for that is one and the same as if her head were shaved. For if a woman is not covered, let her also be shorn. But if it is shameful for a woman to be shorn or shaved, let her be covered. For a man indeed ought not to cover his head, since he is the image and glory of God. But woman is the glory of man. For man is not from woman, but woman from man. Nor was man created for woman, but woman for man. And this is the verse that is the keynote here. Verse 10, for this reason, the woman ought to have a symbol of authority on her head because of the angels. A symbol of authority. Now this, I believe Kevin Rutherford was saying this. He was one of our teachers there at Foundations. He said the symbol of authority was a opinion. I get confused sometimes. I wish I had my notebook with me, but I forgot that, and that's very shameful for me because I wish I had it. Had many of my notes in it. But anyway, it was a symbol of authority. And it came from a Greek word. I can't get the words out, so I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry.
Well, verse 15 defines covering.
You want to go ahead and read that?
It says, but if a woman has long hair, it is a glory to her, for her hair is given to her for a covering.
Hmm.
Then he goes on to say, but if anyone seems to be contentious, we have no such custom, nor do the churches of God.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
you don't have to, it was a cultural thing.
It was yes, thank you. It was a
Dishonor
cultural.
your husband by taking off your covering because now you're a Christian and you have the freedom to. If that's the symbol of authority that you are under his authority, then you wear it.
Yes. It was a culture. That's like saying, during the time of old, the Old Testament, the Levites were meant to have a head covering, a turban, and long hair. Nazarites were not supposed to cut their beard or their hair because of their culture. Their faction, I guess you could say. It was part of the culture for them not to shave their hair or their beard. Now, if... Oh, I forgot. Just lost my train of thought. Got derailed somewhere back at the railroad crossing. Whatever. Anyway, abstain from every form of evil. If someone brings it too far as to say, well, she's got her head uncovered because she hasn't got a hat on. Is that evil? Is it evil?
What is comment or her action?
As in sinful. Is it sinful?
Well, to them it is. That's why they have their cover.
Exactly. You don't want...
Saying wearing a hat is
No, I'm saying if it violates your conscience, if it violates someone else's conscience, then I say, do it. It is a matter of opinion. That's what the Bible's trying to get across. It's like if a man had long hair coming in. Now, of course, I don't like wearing long hair because, part of our culture. But it's basically the same thing. So the false teachers were coming in 1 Thessalonians 5:22. And they were telling them that it was sinful to do this, it was wrong to do this, and it was wrong to do that. Paul was telling them that, no, it wasn't sinful, but you must be careful with what you do. It said, test all things, hold fast what is good. Those who come in and stir things up and say that they're Christians and that they're acting by God's authority, and they stir things up, they make an unruly assembly. Well, it's pretty obvious they're not real Christians if they're stirring things up and they're unruly assembly. You must test them. Hold fast what is good. I like verse 17. It says, pray without ceasing. Now, as a Christian, prayer should be a constant thing. We should always strive to pray. I believe it was Ephesians 4:22. Nope. Singing and making grace in your hearts to the Lord. Ephesians 2. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get another passage here. Sorry, what? 5:19? About Yes, thank you. Speaking to one another in psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord, giving thanks always for all things to God the Father, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Speaking. This verse here talks of how we should sing, how we should make melody in our heart to the Lord. I'm sorry, I'm a little off topic here because it's a lot to take in on one of the first days there at Foundations, because there's so much you do and so much you learn. And that's why I wrote everything down. And like writing it down, it helps to think. It helps to remember, to bring back. If you're like me and you forget quite often, and you have hard hearing, then it makes things difficult. That's why I write things down. Abstain from every form of evil. Now, we were saying, what were we saying? Taking it too far? So you can take this verse too far. And we got to be careful with how we take it, because if we take it too far, then we could violate our own conscience and the conscience of others.
I was in the back, and y'all probably already brought this up. Yeah, we're supposed to, and if I'm being redundant with the statement, y'all have to stop me. Yeah, we are to stay away from every form of evil, and brought to the point that there's evil around us everywhere. It's kind of hard not to go to Walmart and groceries because it's so alcohol. But in Matthew 28, 18-19, we're told to go out in the world, and we've got to make disciples of all those people that are baptized. We've got to go to them. We've got to seek them out. We've got to bring them out of darkness. That's just part of the Christian life. We can't be a hermit crab trying to stay with everything, because then we're not being put in the image of God. We're trying to. We can't condone evil. We can't do evil. But evil is evil. We live in the same planet where evil exists, but we still have to spread the gospel. We still have to seek and save those outlaws.
Thank you.
Everybody said that.
Thank you, Robert. You struck a chord there in my head that I remember now. It said, those who take it too far and say, well, don't go to that store because you're shocked because of what they have there, or don't do this, don't do that. Does that mean, well, you can't leave your house now because there's evil everywhere? You can't leave your house. If you go that far, you can't leave your house, because if you're in your own house, then there's no evil. If there's evil all around you and you go outside your house, what are you doing? You're violating your own conscience.
Isn't our conscience as well a part of a learned behavior to some degree? Like if you're from the Middle East and then you're converted to Christianity, it's still going to. If you're from the Middle East, like you're Islamic or Muslim or something like that.
Former Muslim?
Yeah, and you're converted to a Christian, but it's still while your conscience needs to be
A learned behavior.
Yeah, conscience.
The end result of one's conscience and the knowledge they have of value or lack of value to the religious belief. Because that's what guides you as far as telling you what's right or wrong in all different situations of life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So your conscience would have to be one that would be instructed.
Yeah,
Well, that's what we're told to have our conscience, not let our conscience be seared, but also to be, or to be sharp or have it well trained.
yeah, that's what
And
it's
that comes
getting
from
at.
reading.
Yeah, exactly, from your biblical studies, that's going to train you to have the correct conscience. So, I don't know.
James 4:17. To him who knows to do good and does not do it, to him it is sin. It's talking about the conscience right there. If you know that something is good and you don't do it, you're violating your own conscience, and to yourself it is sin. If someone walks in from the Middle East who is formerly a Muslim, and they walk in and now they're Christians, and they have a turban on, is that wrong?
Because in the turban of custom,
Custom. Custom, yes. They have a turban on and they come in and they worship God in spirit and in truth. Yes, it's me. It doesn't mean they're sinning. It's part of their custom. Now, eventually if they live long enough in the United States, then they'll learn to understand our custom. And they may not wear that turban anymore.
We can't force our custom on them. We lose them as well.
Yes.
If that's what eventually brought them to be who they are, and it's a matter of opinion, that's not something that could cause a detriment to one's spiritual position, or it's not a matter of salvation. And, there's something wrong with encouraging, but you don't have to force someone customs out if you're just not comfortable. And that's why we have to be careful, because there's a lot of people out there that were Muslims, and they have been converted, but they still look like Muslims. So you can't judge, was it John 7:24? That we can't judge from his outward opinions or his outward appearances, because doing that we could eventually try and draw some away. We label them as that terrorist
Mm-hmm.
type situation. We have to be real careful. I've got to watch for that, because with everything going on and how the media exploits everything, you can see someone that's dressed in that traditional dress or has that traditional type beard. You think about what you just heard on the news, and you kind of get me, but we can't be living a filthy life like that, or let the media control the minds like that. Sorry, I got on.
It's good. It's good. It was John 7:24, Robert. Do not judge according to appearance, but judge with righteous judgment. Let's say I went for an entire year in the Middle East. I grew my beard out, had a big old mustache, and wore a turban. And I was helping set up a congregation in the Middle East. And I came back here, I still have that turban on, I still have that beard and mustache. I think I talk a little bit like this, but not too much. But anyway, just because I have that turban on and that beard and mustache doesn't mean I'm violating anything. Now, I may be violating conscience because I was away for so long. But am I sinning? No, I'm not sinning with that turban or that long beard. Now, we see occasionally a few men come in and they have big beards. They're bikers, but they're members of the church. But they're not sinning. It's part of their culture.
We have to be careful. I guess the challenge we put forth with that. At the same time, let's say you're from you're originally Muslim or something, converted. I can't be so critical on you because of what I want you to look like. I have to be understanding. At the same time, and correct me if anyone thinks I'm wrong. At the same time, I don't think you should purposely do things that make
Mm-hmm.
To not carry that persona of someone that's dangerous. You know, they can still satisfy their conscience of certain things, like let's say, you know, if
The headdress.
she still feels like she has to wear, I think it's called a burqa, and her head covering or whatever, then there's nothing wrong with that. But it also gives off that persona that she is of a different, you know, like people aren't going to approach her about for the truth because they're going to think she's Muslim. She's going to look like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also the responsibility on us, like I think it's where you're getting where you're going, is that we're to consider each other. If that bothers her conscience and there's nothing wrong with it, don't push on her that she needs to change that in order to fit in with the culture.
Don't force your will upon her.
You know, some women feel more comfortable wearing only skirts. Some don't feel comfortable cutting their hair. And yet you can go to congregations where they'll make you feel uncomfortable because you don't, or because you do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not considering others better than ourselves. That's not stirring up love and good works.
It's sad when you go to those congregations and they're like, what are you doing?
How dare you come in here with your short hair, you know? And it's like, I mean, that's the look that they give you, and that's the attitude that they portray, and it's hurtful to the members of the church. We're one body, and you've got, you know, the hand trying to saw off the foot. You know, it's like it's not because it's not a hand, or
Mhm.
whatever. You know, I mean, but it's still it's violent. It's on both sides. God always puts it on the person, but also on the other Christian.
Yes.
You know, so, you know, we need to be esteeming each other to love and works.
Yes.
Not letting Satan get us with all the pity.
Now, you may have a preference for one thing, and the other person will have a preference for another thing, and you're in conflict with one another about that preference. Well, if you're in conflict about that preference, don't bring it up. Just don't bring it up if it hurts both of your conscience. Like, I personally don't believe women should have short hair. It's my opinion. But I don't mind it. Why? What? Why?
Why? That's his opinion.
Well, like women in the military. They either cut their hair off or put it into a small bun. Yes. It's part of their culture in the military. Necessity, yes. Part of necessity.
Being in the Middle East, when you're up there and you're in the military, that really doesn't matter where you are. You have less than 5 minutes to take a shower, if that. You might be able to get a shower. You're probably good at getting a shower once a week. So it is not good for women. You know, if they're going to have long hair, it needs to be up every single time. And personally having long hair, that's hard to have to put it up all the time. And it is so much easier to save water and just cut it short. Robert takes shorter showers than I do. Or Rena.
Yeah. Doesn't have much hair.
He doesn't have that amount of hair I have. Plus it'd be hard to do have on the beautiful flowing princess locks.
On your face. They're like, hold on just a second, my hairpin's falling out.
Yeah, the enemy won't stop for you to put your hair back. They won't stop for you.
Plus, in the military, you don't want to give anybody a certain advantage over you. That's why in the military around World War II, they would shave their heads or cut it short.
Not women.
No, I'm talking about men.
I don't know how the women, military people in Afghanistan managed this, but when Adam was over there, when he was over there in the Green Beret, the men had to have mustaches and at least a mustache, because that was like the custom. But the Green Berets had to do the full thing, and a lot of them, and I have a picture of Adam where he's dressed like an Afghan. It's one of those hats from all the way down. And part of that was so that would blend in when they were Green Berets would go into the remote areas and be working with people. But it was also so they would blend in with the people. So if there was a
Exactly.
I think we also want to be conscientious of people at what level they are as far as being a Christian. You know, there's some that are just babes in Christ, and so we need not be so quick to judge based on the verses that you have read, Molly, that we dress modestly. But there may be someone else who comes in who's a Christian and their dress is questionable. Well, it's questionable against our standard, but that person could have just been converted and needs to learn. And so
But in a way that stirs up a lot of the works
Right.
within her, not.
Right, so I think we need to take on, we have to be conscientious of how we approach, how we talk to that individual, and set ourselves as examples, and continue to set ourselves as examples, besides being just so quick, so judgmental. When you go and you visit with, I've been members of congregations where there's 800 members, and there's all sorts of people they're from the Middle East, and they're all different levels as well, as far as being a Christian. Some people are not as fortunate, I shouldn't say fortunate, but they have just been converted, and so there's a lot that they still have to learn. And so we have to teach out of love, and not just hey, Molly, what you have on is wrong, or those things we should always be conscientious of.
With verse 20 and 21 in 1 Thessalonians 5, were you getting to the fact, or are you showing the fact that in 21 it says, test all things, hold fast what is good, and then you have the contrast and same from every form of evil, in the sense of like, if I go overseas and I'm being taught that something is, that this is the doctrine, this is the way it should be, then I need to test those things. And if it's good, then let's change and do that. But if it's not good, then let's get away from that doctrine. Let's get away from that teaching. Abstain from the evil. Is that what you're talking about? Is that where they took it?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what
They took it a little bit that way.
Like with the ones that were even like with circumcision was being taught, and they had to test it. They had to be taught that no, that's not right. So you need to get away from that teaching. And let's, it's evil in the sense of it's not good. It's the opposite. And that's what they're trying to say here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, with all these arguments, it brings up, I guess a mindset with Christians. It's not a Christianity in this lofty mindset. We have to be thinking, we have to be on our toes, and it's a religion where it's knowledge based. There's a great deal of knowledge we have to have, and we're talking about all these ways in which we're approaching people. You can look at examples in Jude of how to some people we have to pull on cars, some people we have to reason with them. When Christ sent out disciples, he said, "Be as cunning as serpents, but as gentle as doves." Use your brain, and
Use that brain God bless you with.
yeah, when Paul that said he became like all things all in. Yeah, so they're
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to violate your conscience, but going overseas, you don't go there dressed like a red, white, blue, Avenger guy, and you ruin every chance to even try to interact with the natives there. You have to be culturally aware, be aware as a Christian, and not you don't look exactly how I want someone to approach you to tell you about Christ.
Because there's some places that you don't even want to travel and carry your Bible with you. You don't dare get caught with your Bible. I mean,
I'll give one more point, and that will be the close because that's our time. In China, it is illegal to preach the gospel. However, if the people in China ask you a question, is what do you do? Or what do you believe? You got them. You can start talking about your congregation. You can start talking about Christ in China. If they, the people of China, ask you, it's not illegal for them to ask you, and once they ask you, you can talk to them.
You can't preach the gospel in China.
You can.
Do it in private. You can't. It's like private.
There's only one province that it's illegal to do any of it.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
you gotta know before you go in. You gotta know the culture.
You got to be careful with what you do.
Isaiah 4:6, my people are surely like no. That's the knowledge of biblical knowledge, but you gotta be smart. There's a lot we can do, but we have to be.
And if we don't continue, Christians continue to be knowledgeable, it's gonna get us right here in our own homeland.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to go overseas.
You just got to be knowledgeable of those who live around you. Well, thank you. I enjoyed trying and also helping figure that one out.